We took Grandma up to her farm yesterday, and I again jumped out of the car early on Miserable Person Mountain. I was feeling great, even gleeful, because I had all morning alone to myself and the Hibagon. I had 3 objectives, rather ambitiously. Number 1, now that we know what smashed bamboo groves look like on the ground and from the air, I looked for similar smashed bamboo groves, and I found one, quickly found one, behind this main temple at the Ashita River Bend, and another one a little west at a temple or shrine over there. So I will have to go back there to both those places. But I found another one on Miserable Person Mountain. Now, I couldn't see any way to get into it on the map, but I wanted to get as close as I could to it on the road and then look and maybe get lucky and find a trail, or very probably find some structures nearby. Number 2, with the advice of our game clerk and others, and taking a hint from Christopher Noel's field guide to Sasquatch structures, I wanted to put a trail camera in here. And number 3, I wanted to climb the mountain behind Grandma's house because it abuts a vast protected forest. So I wanted to poke around up there and just see what could be seen. Well, I met none of my objectives because as soon as the car was out of sight, I got hit or interfered with in a way that was strongly reminiscent, identical to last year's panicky freakout at the Mount Hiba solar calendar. Now, my wife noticed it as soon as I got out of the car. The first sign being pallor. My face was white. All the color had gone out of it, leading her to ask me if I was feeling all right and if I really wanted to take off by myself. The second sign I noticed myself, loss of verbal skills. I wanted to speak in Japanese out of courtesy for Grandma. Grandma was sitting in the front passenger seat, and I was talking across her to my wife, and, to be polite, I wanted to speak in Japanese. Well, no Japanese was coming to me. 0. But even in English, my speech was frozen up. My wife asked me what time they should expect me to be at the house, and I said, quote, lunch. My wife thought that I was in a bad mood and being curt to her, but I just couldn't speak beyond single words. Now, the next sign was total and immediate bowel liquefaction and the urgent need to relieve myself. But the car was already gone, and there's no phone reception up there, so I was alone with that problem. Other signs. Sudden, total drenching sweat. Shakiness and awkwardness. Decreased dexterity. Brain fog. When I finally got to Grandma's house, I noticed sensory overload. Inability to hold eye contact. Difficulty speaking above a whisper. Just my voice was gone. The very concerned women put me to bed, and I tried to make a video from there to document my condition. Here it is. I'm still not able to talk. But by afternoon I was feeling better, and I made this video. But here I'm in an excited and agitated state. I'm coherent enough, but I'm using a bit of bad language, so I'll spare you that. I think this summary is good enough. Now, the women and girls went to work in the field, and I got feeling well enough to join them. I'd given up on Hibagon for the day, which is another sign, apathy. If I had experienced an ordinary interruption, I would have dealt with it, and I'd be bouncing back out on my missions, my 3 objectives. But yesterday and last year on the Mount Hiba occasion, I lose all interest. I don't want anything more to do with it at that time. Nevertheless, I was going out to Grandma's farthest field to join everybody, and I saw this. Now, this video has no sound, and I don't know why. I was speaking right into the phone. My other videos caught the sound. They have audio. This one has no audio. So I'll just talk over it and tell you what's going on. Okay, so I'm walking along the road to Grandma's field where the women are, and I pass by this grove of trees, which is Grandma's property. This is Grandma's land. And I see a tree which has been stripped of bark all the way around. Here it is. And I think, well, this could be deer. It's not too terribly high up, the damage. I'm getting closer to it now. I'm going to stand beside it to measure it. And the damage comes up to about my forehead. And I'm not a real tall guy, so yeah, a deer could stand on its hind legs and eat the bark up there. I don't know why it would leave that bark down around the base. And I don't know why there aren't any teeth marks on the tree, as we find where we can see that deer have been eating the bark. No teeth or claw marks, for that matter, either. Well, stepping just over here, here's another tree, debarked in a similar manner, and all right, I'll go up against this one. See how tall that damage goes up. Well, that is way above my head and way above my reach. That's about twice as tall as I am, so 11 feet, something like that. I can't imagine a deer getting up that high. So isn't that a kick in the head? That's right on Grandma's land. Now I'm looking around. I don't see bark on the forest floor. I do see a lot of broken limbs. Just looking around, looking around. All right. My attention. Oh, by the way, I totally miss one unbarked tree. I'll show you that in the next clip. It does have audio. My attention is drawn to this stick hanging up here. Did it fall there? Or was it hung up there? Who knows? I suppose it could have fallen there. I'm just looking around. Up the hillside. Up the hillside, I see that diagonal line. There it is. A tree has been pushed down. And we'll deal with that in the next clip. Okay, I don't know why audio is missing from this clip. But there you go. I look around more. I see this tree bent down or pushed down. And trees can naturally bend down if they want to. But this one must have had some help because it's bent down underneath this limb. And this bent down tree's range of motion is limited on this side by this tree. So I can't see how it would get here without help. Okay, 2 more video clips with working audio. Pardon me, there's 3 of them in here. One right here. Now that, again, that comes up to about my forehead. That's almost as tall as me. And then this one, you miss them because if you don't look all the way up, it looks like a barked tree, but this one has been stripped way up there. That's what? 3 times taller than me? And then this one. Maybe only twice as tall as me. So somebody's been stripping these trees very high up. This is right in Grandma's woods. It's off the mountain, but it's part of Grandma's woods. Fantastic. And I'm going to see if I can get closer to that broken tree. Okay, there's another peeled tree right beside it, which places our tall tree peeler at the scene. And then the leaning tree is itself peeled. And right in front of it is another broken off tree peeled. And another tree peeled and broken off, and another one behind it. So someone has been both peeling trees and, I presume, eating the bark, because there's no sign of the bark on the forest floor. And then some trees, if it's the same person, he's been snapping them, and others he's leaving alone. Now, there's a weird looking Y-shaped tree behind there. All in Grandma's woods. Just a small part of Grandma's woods. And I don't like to get too close to some of these, because you see how it's leaning in the fork of that small tree. Let me see. Where am I? There. And it's leaning in the fork. It's propped up in that Y, which looks deliberate. And you never know. We have no idea what these structures are. I sometimes wonder if they're traps, and if you were a wild pig, say, and you were able to trigger them, then they might be designed to fall down on your back and break your spine. And we wouldn't want that to happen to me. To explain those peeled trees, I could really imagine a family of Hibagon. Tall father working the middle tree with his huge reach. Mother working the tree on the right. And then one or two young ones working on the left, reaching as high up as my forehead. Apes today eat bark. It's an important part of their diet. And the Australopithecines ate bark. It's in their coprolites. And we had that story from northern Japan of a Hibagon employed, kind of casually employed, to come down and peel trees. Remember that story? They paid him in tobacco. So, yeah, there you go. Now, bordering Grandma's field, this is her field, I also noticed a considerable amount of timber cluttering up that hillside. Very much out of place. There's just too much of it. And in these forests and on these mountains, that is atypical. I can tell you that. I asked Grandma and sister-in-law about these things, and they just never noticed. They don't notice these things, and they have no ideas about it. No. Well, they're not even really interested. Now, the other thing that happened yesterday in the afternoon, about 6 miles over, 6 miles from where I was hit, a helicopter crashed. The pilot was killed. He was a highly experienced pilot, and he sounds like he was a wonderful guy. He volunteered for search and rescue operations and for natural disaster responses. He was a top pilot. The weather was good, overcast, but good. He had lots of fuel on board. It's not known yet why he crashed. But I couldn't help but think that if that pilot found himself interfered with, as I was yesterday, I wouldn't be able to operate a car in the condition I was in. I couldn't have ridden a bicycle. And if his instruments failed him, as my phone failed me in that first clip, at least the microphone failing me, then who knows? Well, this is the second time I've experienced this kind of attack or interference. Both times I was carrying trail cams and intending to deploy them. The old-time Japanese called the Hibagon satori, or consciousness, citing their ability to read men's thoughts. I don't know. I just don't know. I am open to the infrasound theory, the pheromone or other airborne hormone theory, the psychic attack theory, and I'm open to the psychosomatic I just freaked myself out theory. I don't know. Okay, finally, if you admired Grandma's vine work, visible behind me, here's an unobstructed shot. Here's more of her work, the bottom one, the big one. This is a basket she keeps kindling in for the wood stove. And this one looks to me like a woman's undergarment. A support garment, if you know what I mean, that would not look entirely out of place on Mother Hibagon. Okay, that's all I got. Have a good day. Bye-bye.